Stuck in the apartment, I learned to cook for myself, and one of the things that I eventually learned to make was bread. You can learn to make your own recipes once you understand the ratios and how it works, and how gluten develops, and how different ingredients affect the final product. It's delicious at the end, so that helps too. I am certain there's a cool game to be made out of bread baking if I set my mind to it, because it's a system. I see the entire world through that lens. Game design is my way of communicating, hey, this is interesting, this is what I see in it. My name is E McNeill. I'm a game designer at I guess my studio is just me, so I don't really have a company around me. I work solo out of San Diego. It's a slower pace than the East Coast. It is California. It's not Los Angeles or San Francisco, thank God. And the weather's perfect, as we like to shove in everybody's face as much as we can. I try to find an excuse to get out of the house because I don't really have any reason to, but I find that I'm more productive and I'm more happy if I can go out and enjoy the San Diego sun occasionally. I'll go to a sandwich shop or a cafe and I'll just work there for like 3 or 4 hours. It's gotten to the point where they know me and they know my order as soon as I walk in the door. It's nice to sit down and pull out a paper notebook and figure out some new ideas or some way of refining the game design. And then I can take that back to my apartment, to my office, sit down and start building it and start programming. The best thing about being a solo developer is the complete control. I get the veto. My games are a representation of me in a poignant way. The first game that I released commercially was this little indie title called Oralux. It's the simplest real-time strategy game you could make. It's my appeal to the rest of the world, to non-gamers and to people who maybe haven't enjoyed this kind of thing before. Virtual reality is something that I personally find really cool. I backed the Oculus Rift Kickstarter on day one, and it's been really fun to work with. Because it's so new and because it's starting to so small, it's hard for the really big studios to get into it, to jump in feet first. So it presents an opening where you can make these sort of smaller, more focused games. Nobody knows the rules for designing in VR. Maybe me just being one person working on my own actually can help me be faster and more agile. So it gives an opportunity where if everyone is just shooting in the dark, then I want to be one of those people. I want to take my shot. Anytime I put on the VR headset, I felt like I was a hacker, no matter what I was playing. And so it only felt natural to try to turn that into a game in its own right.
Initiating connection.
Darknet is a VR cyberpunk hacking game. I imagined in my head a bunch of nodes that represent computers, and you're in cyberspace and they can be connected to each other like in a real network, and they can influence each other in different ways. The biggest thing is that working in virtual reality means that you're concerned a lot about immersing the player in some sort of experience. That's the feeling I think that we get when we look at Hollywood's idea of a hacker, and they're like typing away and there's code scrolling or whatever, and you have no idea what it means. In Darknet, I'm trying to replicate that in a way where the game looks very complex, but you can learn it. And once you understand how to navigate it, you are that hacker. The complexity is all around you, and that contributes to this slightly overwhelming feeling that I think is a core part of the game's appeal. For Tactera, I was really interested in playing around with positional tracking. I love this idea of having things take place very close to you on this miniature tabletop, and you have tiny planes flying around and like tanks rolling over the hills, and you lean in and look really up close to them. And that just feels really cool in VR. There's 12 different units in the game, like light fighter jets and big heavy tanks and artillery installations and things like that. You can choose any 3 of them to take into battle. Those are all you get. Sometimes you end up in a situation, or you put yourself into a situation where you can't make it happen. You haven't given yourself the tools necessary to succeed. And in other cases, you can actually be really creative. You pick things that work together in an unexpected way, or one unit is holding the line up front, another unit is able to attack from a long distance, and they synergize in a really interesting way. It's important to me to stay hands-off. Ultimately, what I think that comes down to for me is respect for the player. Respect for the player's intelligence and respect for the player's time. I don't want to treat the player like they're an automaton that I have to puppeteer, that I have to guide through an experience in a certain way. That's not to say that game designers don't have a lot of control. There's a certain kind of integrity that you have to hold fast to as a game designer. And if you compromise that, then players will see through it. And it'll start to feel like your games aren't really about anything. I'm into game design, and that doesn't just mean video games. That can mean anything. Volleyball is something where there's actually a fair amount of strategy involved. You have to think quickly as well as just execute. I played volleyball starting in middle school. Then when I came out here to California, I discovered that this was something that people did. It's a way to enjoy the sun and enjoy the beach and not feel like I'm wasting this amazing resource here. I think people lose sight of the fact that sports are games, and it's pretty natural for people who love games to get into that. I am proud of myself. I feel like I've made some really cool games. I didn't come into this with a lot of debt, like a lot of my peers, and so a big part of it is just luck. It's easier to make ends meet when you have this great support network, you're going out into the world with leads on jobs and a good education and all of that. I think it's only responsible to acknowledge the privilege that you were born with in life, that was handed to you. If you don't do that, then I think that kind of warps the perception of how the world works for everyone else. It's a little bit of a lie if you don't include that when it's part of your story.